I am the self-help hacker. Time to process a very basic truth about most people. You don't want to be most people. You don't want to be most people because most people are basic. You watch my videos so that you are not basic, so that you learn nuggets of knowledge sooner in life without having to learn through the mistakes by default that I had to live through. So here it is. Most people who are basic, here's the problem or the perceived problem, they rally around it, they gather around it, and they're very open and opinionated about that perceived problem. Nothing draws a crowd like a crowd. But over here are the people who are actually interested in finding a solution. Now this is a less popular conversation. It doesn't garner as much attention, but it actually makes the world a better place. And people who are the problem solvers are the people who know that the solution often, we don't get to it by looking at the problem itself. We have to think beyond that. We have to think of something different for this actual solution. Easy example, obvious example, global warming, climate change, whatever you want to call it, and maybe whatever you call it may even identify your political affiliation for all I know. But it's funny because, and I keep saying this in my videos and no one's really challenging me on it. It's not that I don't believe that there's not climate change or global warming, whatever we want to call it. It's not that I don't believe it. It's just that I don't believe that there's actually something we can do about it. Because all I'm hearing is people complain about it and then turn it into a political issue. And when I am told some sort of solution, it's something very vague and mystical, like, oh yeah, you get a Jeep, you need to get rid of that. You need to trade it in for an electric car. But see, I know better than that. And I know that to build an electric car actually causes a lot of damage to the environment itself. So if you already own a car, to trade it in for an electric car, we're still not solving the problem, because the emissions from cars in itself is not really necessarily the main problem. A lot of it's beyond our control, and I always say focus on what you can control, not on what you can't. But I would be naive to think that there really is something we can do about it. If I hear a simple solution, I'll be happy to start doing that. But usually it's something vague like, well, you need to write your congressman. Okay, dear congressman, it's too hot over here, make it stop. We're not being told a simple, and that's something I've said in my videos before. People who are good at communicating can take something complicated and make it simple. But poor communicators take something simple and make it complicated. Right now, people are rallying around the problem of climate change, global warming. Again, whatever you call it based on your political affiliation through your form of tribalism that ultimately probably determines what you call it. What's the solution? I don't know, but people are talking about the problem. I do know that. So we are judged on our confidence. We're respected because our confidence is currency. So forget about the world getting hotter and the ice melting and all that. Let's just forget about that. Imagine everyday life. Imagine wherever your society is, whether it's a class or an office or wherever you're around people, communicating with people. Imagine the person who people gossip about. Can you believe they say that? Can you believe they do that? And it's often those people who are most likely to be the people who talk about the perceived problem or the actual problem, but not the solution. So what if you're the person who actually looks for the solution, talks about the solution, rallies people for the solution, or maybe it's something you can do yourself and you just do the thing and solve the problem by actually being involved in that process. But because most people are basic, they're going to be more involved in trying to get attention about talking about the problem, because often what they're doing, and again politically is often the motivation here, but if we talk about the problem, we can make other people look bad. And if we can make other people look bad by casting blame on them for the problem, then it makes us look good. Because remember, do good people exist? Of course they do, because I'm a good person. How do I know that? Because I'm not as bad as that person. Tribalism, perceived problem, that's what people do. There are a lot less people willing to find actual solutions to problems and either solve it or get people involved in that conversation. Because that conversation is not as cool. Might not be as cool until you actually solve the problem, and then people might suddenly realize you're cool. But why don't you just, if you have to, work quietly to that solution, and then you'll become the info source, the problem solver. People will respect you because that's your thing. Like, oh wow, he actually did something about this instead of just talked about it. Wow, I look at that person differently now. Your comments belong right here.